touch is a sensation as if your finger ends were full of millions of little eyes.
So therefore, it is fundamental to pleasure that one learns to wiggle, and not be stiff and rigid.
Secret to all this is not to be afraid of fear.
lie in bed. There's nothing else to do. While everybody else in the world goes about their business. And you're left with almost nothing to do except listen. And you hear all the funny little noises that you don't normally notice. Of not only people, but also animals and birds and things going about their daily business. And it suddenly occurs to you that this is an unheeded symphony that's going on. You will see they have a passion for Euclideanism. You are going to be you. The same slob you've always been. See? You can't change it. And all your good resolutions are just bombast. Then you start to be real. There are two kinds of pipe smokers. People who take enormous puffs, I mean vast clouds of smoke, the pipe burns out very quickly. And there are other people who very slowly take a puff and keep the pipe going for a long, long time. Some people like a quick, enormous flash. Others like a long, long, slow glow. Who's right? Who's left?
see the spiders. Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market open. Today is currently March 29th, and as we kick off the new trading session, what you're going to be seeing is the spiders gapping up substantially. I'll just pull that up on the screen. You can see we closed all the way down here and we're trading all the way at 399.48. A massive rally today. Basically, this is coming out of nowhere right now, this rally. Expect the unexpected. With these gap ups, often what we've seen is a fade to the downside. And there are a few stocks that we're watching today. We're watching Lululemon. That one's gapped up on earnings. So we do have a short day trade on Lulu. Basically, I believe it's up over 15% here. The level that intrigues me for a potential short trade is around 374.54 is a potential 374.54. So a pierce of this level up here, basically 374. So we'll keep that on the radar. That's more of the aggressive level. There is a more conservative level at 386. But I'm probably going to look for the first level myself. Just depending on how the market's open, we are kind of stretched at the moment in time. So definitely keep Lulu on the radar. Obviously, why we're picking Lulu there. Let me just bring this to your attention. We have a beautiful technical gap, kind of a little mini double top. There is the potential that it could even float all the way up to this gap, which would be a 410. I'm not expecting that to, but just FYI, it could eventually go up there as well. You do have that downsloping resistance trend line, which we're well above right now, so definitely pay attention. That's where we could, if we get a pullback, that's where your first level of support would be. The stream is going to be slightly different today. Basically, I am under the weather, so I will be a little bit more off of the camera. I'll stay on the mic, but no one really wants to see me blowing my nose, so I'll come on and off the camera when I see fit. But I will be here, the same protocol, the same, live trades, calling it out on the mic, but I'll just kind of, instead of showing my face, I'll be showing another chart or something of information and value to you. So Lululemon is the one stock we're watching for a short. I'm also looking at Microsoft for a potential fade. This stock had a phenomenal rally basically yesterday at the end of the day. You can see that light volume float just sent it soaring and roaring. What I'm looking here on Microsoft is this original bear flag consolidation. So basically you have this beautiful little channel, and Microsoft's just inside of that channel now. We're trading at on this orange line. So if we can get a float to the top end of that channel, that may be a potential short trade as well. Just a day trade scalp on that side. But right now the S&P is soaring and roaring, making new intraday highs. We have to keep in mind that there is 10 a.m. data that is coming out. And it's really interesting to see that Micron, MU, reported earnings today for the semis, completely shit the bed. MU was down, or their sales were down 53%, weak forward guidance, everything about their earnings were horrific. You can clearly see down here it was a double miss by a great margin, but yet the stock is up. Does that make sense? To me, no, not really, but that's the price action we have in front of us. Now, from a fundamental standpoint, when you get that weak of an earnings, this is an option to also fade. Where I would feel comfortable just with the market strength is taking a day trade scalp around 61.76, okay? That's going to be more of an aggressive side, but again, I do think that this stock should see some near-term downside. There is the potential that it can also come up to the 62.30, So we'll pay attention to those key aspects of the market. Natural gas is under pressure this morning. So is gold. I find it interesting to see that gold is getting clobbered today, down 0.5%. Not really that clobbered, but again, gold is looking a little bit toppy here. I mean, the big level I'm watching is, do we break this upsloping trend line, which you can see we bounced off of it here. If you break that trend line, what this could be signaling to us is maybe the Dixie is going to catch a bid, which it is right now. So the Dixie is actually positive and the markets are soaring and roaring. Yields are actually positive and the markets are soaring and roaring. That 10 a.m. data that we have, home sales could, I believe it's pending home sales, could spike the dollar, could spike yields. So let's pay attention to that. That would back up the theory where we see markets gap up and then crack to the downside if the dollar and yields were to spike higher. So definitely pay attention to this bull flag pattern because this is a nice bullish pattern. That pattern, if it triggers, if you break out, we actually will have a definitive move right up to this gap fill around basically 102.83, give or take. So I do see the dollar potentially heading to there, but again, if that data for home sales comes in weaker than expected, then it'll drop the dollar. If it comes in better than expected, then it'll spike the dollar, spike yields. So pay attention to a lot of moving parts today. The volume trends are going to be key. That's the volume trends that I'm paying attention to today. Because the volume was so light over the last 2 days, it was actually the first and second lightest volume trends in the S&P 500, which means that the markets can float and grind higher if the volume trends are extremely light. So if we notice that the volume trends are light today again, specifically in the tail end, the afternoon session, that does favor a little bit more buoyancy in the markets. I'm also looking at a spider short. We're going to be super extended. The level that I'm looking at is probably a pierce of this 400. There's this beautiful downsloping trend line that I'm looking at, connecting this main pivot high over here to this pivot. If we can pierce through that, even if it came into this 402, somewhere in this vicinity, basically I want to see how it opens. But a spider short, whether you do it the SDS or just the actual SPY or the SPX, I'll leave that up to you. I'll probably just do a SPY short. So lots of things paying attention to today. Just keep your wits about us. Respect the strength in the near term. But again, I've seen this scenario where markets typically gap up and then they fade throughout the day. It's almost like an institutional trap that they lay to suck in new money, new investors, and then they start selling into it. And gap ups are often used as a tool to hide selling. It's used as a very powerful tool to distribute into the smaller retail investors. So lots of things to pay attention to today, but we'll just take it as we get the price action unfolding here in the near term. All right. So the spiders are trading at 399.73 at the moment. China stocks are under a little bit of pressure, taking a breather. Crypto had a pretty big rally. Most stocks are rallying today. This is a broad market rally, even on the back of a weak earnings report. Gold is down, miners are down, home builders are up. Commercial real estate is looking up today, having a positive day. Meta is also up over 1.26%. Microsoft's up over 1.17%. Nvidia's up over 1.62%. So go figure, we get a small down day and then that's pretty much just almost negated by Nvidia. The one thing I'm paying attention to on AMD, let me just flip to a little bit of a larger time frame, let's say the 30-minute. So AMD actually did trigger this topping formation here. You have this left shoulder head, right shoulder. You pierced it yesterday. The big thing is, do we get a close, a confirming close back above this white trend line? If we do, it negates this topping formation and then semis could actually push higher. But if we get rejected off of that trend line, then it likely means eventually the selling will resume in AMD and the semiconductor space. So I'm paying attention to that aspect of the market as well. Natural gas is getting a nice little bit off of the lows. That's certainly helpful to see. But really the first stock that I'm looking at is going to be Lulu. That's probably the most probable trade that I'm looking at. So definitely keep Lulu on the radar. I'll actually just pull that up here and we'll keep that on the radar for the market open. Excuse me, apologies for my cold here. So we'll see how these markets open up. Big gap up on Lulu. It's trading at 366.81. Spiders are still at the highs. Dollar is also pushing up. You have Bitcoin acting well today. Ripple's acting well. Russell's up on the session. The Qs are pushing up. We'll see what type of action we get. We had this original channel that the dollar was chopping in. It lost that channel. Now it's looking to reclaim that channel. So if we get to this gap fill, you could actually push up to the upper end of this channel here. And the big question is, will it get through that channel? I mean, this looked like almost like a failed breakdown, but the dollar is trying to recapture it. If the dollar can recapture this failed breakdown, then it actually has a bullish bias to head much higher. But the economic data can certainly affect things as we move forward. So we have about 4 minutes to the open. 4 minutes to the open. Lulu has pulled off the highs. It actually hit that gap fill. Lulu did hit that gap fill that we discussed, and it's pulled off substantially from the highs. I'll just show you here. So notice how that is technical resistance, and now it's fading off of the highs. It's not what we want to see in pre-market, but however, it still could push up there. Now, considering it hit it in pre-market, and we know there's sellers there, that's a good resistance level. However, being the fact that it did hit it once already in pre-market, I wouldn't be shocked if it actually pushes through that level, especially if the markets stay strong for like the first 20 minutes or so, or half an hour of trading. I'm going to flip back to regular hours. So just understand that this 374 resistance was tagged already in the pre-market. I'm also paying attention to the cloud stocks, IGV. If IGV pushed up to 297.38, I would look for a short there. Alright guys, get ready for this market open. Lululemon's falling sharply from that level. Hopefully we can get a push back up there. Apple's at 159, Tesla's pushing up. Spiders are at the highs of the session. Here we go, about 24 seconds left to the open. Natural gas actually tagged that double bottom zone. Perfect double bottom retrace. And it's looking to put on an hourly bottom tail. So Lulu's opening up here. It's at 366. Spiders are just chilling right now at the highs. Lulu's fading. Let's take a look at the spiders here. Whoops. Spiders are fading off of the highs. Baba's negative, Tesla's up 2. Apple's remaining strong at the highs. Lulu's fading off of the highs. Everything's pretty much fading off of the highs except for Apple and Nvidia. Microsoft's having a big fade. MSFT. So Microsoft hit that upper range of the channel. That was the level we gave you pre-market. I did not take it. I repeat, I did not take it. Keep Microsoft on the radar because it's back at that level. If it can pierce that 279, I may short Microsoft. I want to see it pierce that 279 again. Alright, there it is, guys. I'm shorting Microsoft here, 279.08, 279.08. That's a 1/4 position. 279.08 I got filled at. Lulu's still off of our level. Nvidia's pushing up. Apple's still just hovering. Spiders are coming down. The dollar's at the highs. Russell's also fading pretty sharply here. So the Russell's giving up a lot of the gains that it had. Next level on Microsoft would be 279.88. Lulu's faded. Big cap tech is pushing up hard here. The Russell has faded. S&P's faded. QQQ's remaining very strong and elevated. So keep an eye on Microsoft, 279.88. Maybe it'll pierce that level and we'll execute a short. That'll be a second add to that position. The Qs are rallying sharp still. Apple still remaining at the highs. China stocks are still weak today. Microsoft's remaining extremely elevated. Dollar's at the highs. Amazon's up a couple percent. Nvidia's up a couple percent. Intel's doing really well as well. So semis are showing great strength. Lulu's trying to push up. Microsoft seeing a little bit of minor distribution, but still up substantially. On Microsoft, I'm looking for about at least $1 on Microsoft. So we're at 279.08. We're looking for at least a 278. Dollars pushing up. Qs are at the highs of the session. Exceptional rally. GE's acting well. Healthcare's acting well. Get ready to add to Microsoft. I will add to my Apple's at the high of the day. Lulu's still pulled off of that level. MARA is another one that's up substantially. So I'm just watching Microsoft here on my other screen. No short on MARA yet. Natural gas is fading. Microsoft seeing its first little red candle. The spiders are still under a little bit of pressure. Microsoft's pushing up some more. AMD got rejected off of that trend line that we showed you, or is in the process of doing so. So notice how we said this is the big trend line, that head and shoulders one. And look at it, it's fighting that level right now. So Microsoft still acting well. Let's take a look at the Qs. Qs are still pushing up. The dollar's softening slightly. Microsoft's still not at the next ad level, but it's getting there. It's about 20-30 cents away. Qs are still at the highs. If Microsoft start coming in, that'll weigh the market down. Spiders are still near the highs of the session. Lululemon's still also fighting. Hasn't hit our levels, which was trading higher in pre-market. It's trading all the way at 374 in pre-market. Microsoft is starting to see some distribution now. So we're in the money nicely. Spiders are still holding up really well here. Apple's at the highs. Snapchat's under pressure. Let's take a look at the spiders here. They're still acting extremely well. Will we see a fade though? The Qs are still at the highs, so that's obviously not helping our Microsoft short. Maybe the Qs want to push up to double top. We will see. Let's take a look at Micron. Micron's soaring and roaring, up substantially. If Micron gets to this double top zone over here, then we can look for a short. So Microsoft, I'm still keeping that on the radar. Lulu's trying to push up. Keep Lulu on the radar. I'm interested in Micron. If we can get another push up to the 63.85, I am interested in Micron short. So keep Micron. We're flat on our Microsoft trade. Apple's still at the highs of the session. So really, Apple's holding this market up. Lulu's pushing up. Microsoft is coming back down now. So we're slightly in the money on Microsoft. We want Lulu to push up, at least retouch that pre-market high, which there's a possibility it can. We're also watching MU. So keep Micron on the radar. Do you like that 63.90, 63.85 level? Spiders are still acting very, very well. Qs are still at the highs. Microsoft's still holding up. The spiders are still holding up. QQQ. Apple still hasn't seen any. Nvidia's starting to fade now. Nvidia's starting to fade. Look at AMD. This could be telling. Let's pay attention to these semis because we did get rejection off of that neckline. We got clear initial rejection. Obviously the day's not over. So what we're seeing now in Micron is a lot of people hopped in on the short side off of that horrific earnings. And now they're just getting squeezed out. It's really fascinating to see how these markets work. Qs are still acting well. The dollar's trying to consolidate, but yields have softened slightly. But all yields are positive. Micron's trying to push up. All right, Micron's coming up, guys. So I'm very interested in shorting this one. I am very interested. Still just waiting on Microsoft. There is a shot that Micron can push all the way up to 65.60. 65.60. There's a fairly big level at that resistance. Microsoft's still really just at our short level. Nvidia's pulled off the highs just a tad. Let Lululemon push up. Let Micron push up. Markets are kind of just stalling here. A little stale at the moment. So there is this shot that Micron can actually push all the way up to here. So aggressive traders on Micron will take this area here, the 64, basically a pierce of 64. More conservative traders will be 65, 65 pierce, 66. So I'm going to wait for at least a pierce of 64. At least because the spiders are acting well and they're pushing up. And the Qs are pushing up. So I'm going to play a little bit more conservative. I'm seeing some strength come back into the semis. So I'm just going to play it slightly conservative. Dixie's softening. So it's helping the spiders push back up. Remember, we have 10 a.m. data in 15 minutes. Lululemon's trying to push back up. Micron's almost at that resistance, first level of resistance. Microsoft's seeing some weakness. We'll hold on to that one. So Micron's hitting that first level, but I'm not in yet. I'll let you know if I take the trade. I want to see it push up a little bit more. So you can see a slight pullback coming into effect there. The IWM's pushing up. Microsoft's also trying to push up. Spiders just briefly made a new high. They haven't closed there, but they did make a new high. All right, I'm taking a Micron short here, 64 bucks. 64 bucks. Short Micron at 64. It's So 1-6 position. 1-6 position. Alright, Micron's pulling in off of that level. That's good to see. Spiders are fading here. Alright, so Micron's coming in nicely. Micron's coming in nicely. We're at 64, so we can look for probably about 70 cents to $1 on this trade. 70 cents to $1. Micron's coming in nicely here. Nice fall on Micron. Let's see if we can get some more sell side pressure. Micron's pushing back up. The dollar has softened substantially. So that may help Micron push up. Lululemon's pushing up. Microsoft's also pushing up. So I'm still interested in adding to Microsoft at this 279.80, maybe even a 280 Pierce. Maybe even a 280 Pierce. Still watching Micron. Apple's at the highs. Spiders are trying to push up again. The dollar has really faded. The dollar has really faded. Nvidia's at the highs. Microsoft's pushing up as well, so get ready to add to Microsoft. Spiders are trying to make a new high. Nvidia is pushing up. The dollar has really crumbled right ahead of that pending home sales. Micron's just hovering at our level. Spiders are pushing for a new high. They just made a new high. Micron's still under some distribution there. Microsoft's pushing up some more now. Keep your eye on that ad level. Because we've consolidated, I might push this up a little bit. 279.95, maybe 280 Pierce. Just keep an eye on that. Micron is just still fighting that level. Spiders just took a nice little dump there. That's helping our Micron trade. That's helping our Microsoft trade now. Let's see if Micron can push down a little bit. Apple's still remaining strong, so is Microsoft. Apple's seeing some more selling, so that should help our trade. But as Apple's seeing selling, Microsoft's trying to push back up. Spiders are still acting well. Qs are still at the highs of the session. Micron's coming down now. Micron is coming down. Microsoft's seeing some distribution. The spiders are still inside of a 10-minute little topping tail. There is a 10-minute topping tail on the spiders, so that should be resistance. Now the big question is, are these markets going to fade at all? Volume's actually still fairly light as of now. Lulu's still on the radar for a short as well. Come on, Micron. One more dip. I'm still watching Microsoft on the other screen. That one's trying to push up. So I'm going to call out Microsoft because it's getting close to our next ad level. And we're going to have to simultaneously put in a Microsoft short and a cover on Micron. So Microsoft's pushing up. Get ready to add to Microsoft. So Microsoft's still trying to push up. I haven't added yet. I'm keeping Micron on the radar. It's almost at our cover level, but it needs to go a little bit more. I think we could actually see it fall pretty sharply here. All right, so Microsoft's now pulling in. Spiders are still acting well. Qs are still at the highs. So back to MU. MU's coming in. Alright guys, I just covered my Micron 63.29, 63.29. Covered Micron for a nice gain there. Times a few hundred shares. So that's a nice win on us. I personally had about 350 shares there. Now we'll man Microsoft. So that was a nice easy win for us. One in the books. Let's see if Microsoft can come in now. Take a look at Micron. That's falling even sharper now. So you could still squeeze more out of it. You can even get probably $1 coming in because these markets really haven't faded. But I'm not greedy, honestly. I'm not greedy at all. Spiders are trying to fade a little bit. Let's take a look at AMD again because it's still fighting that trend line. Take a look at this. I mean, it's magnificent how the technicals are working. So you got to close, and it would have negated that. However, because you were inside of this reversal, it hasn't negated that trend line. Very interesting price action. I love the technical charts. SMH is still remaining strong. Microsoft is still remaining strong just off of our level. But I do think we could see Microsoft come in pretty hard here. Look at Micron. Micron is collapsing now. Boom. Look at that. Beautiful technical level, guys. So one winner in the pocket. One winner in the pocket. Let's keep our eye on the spider. Let's keep our eye on the Qs because that's going to hurt. That's going to affect our trade more. We have 5 minutes till the data. Apple's pulling off of the highs. Markets are still acting very resilient though. Lululemon hasn't hit the level yet, so I'm still watching that one. Microsoft's coming in a little bit sharper now. So take a look at that. I still want this to hit the low end of this channel. I mean, that would basically imply a gain of roughly markets are trying to fade off of the highs. Spiders are inside of a 10-minute reversal candle. So things are looking to fade right now. Natural gas is trying to bounce. It's good to see. Needs to, certainly. It's in 3 minutes we may have an hourly bottoming tail. Wow, if you're holding on to Micron, good for you. Look at that. I mean, that's an amazing drop. If you're still holding that day trade, I mean, you're banking huge here. Huge. Actually, let's take a look at Mara now. MARA keeps pushing. Ah, you see, it's just in a bunch of a range chop. It's nothing of a trade that I like to look at here. XPEV. If XPEV can actually head right into this gap fill at 1185, I may consider shorting it. Now we have to keep in mind that Chinese government is printing like a no tomorrow. They're printing like no tomorrow. And this particular stock is on watch for a technical breakout. Doesn't mean we can't still trade it. I would love to see it head right into that gap fill. So we'll certainly keep that on the radar. Wow, the markets are acting very well though. Qs, Microsoft, everything is acting well. Now we can look to short Micron again, but it has to pierce and make a new high, which there's a possibility if these markets stay strong. We can look to short it again. So keep your eye on Microsoft again. We have a couple minutes till the data. Will it spike the dollar? So keep your eye on the dollar, the DXY. Excuse me. Natural gas is 1 minute and it puts in an hourly bottoming tail at the double bottom on heavy volume, so that's a good sign. It's certainly been clobbered recently. Rivian's up 7%, Nvidia's still holding most of the gains. Get ready to add to Microsoft. This will be our 2/6 position. Alright, I just added there 279.91. 279.91. So my average is what is that? 279.54 average. And Microsoft's piercing that. The data came in better than expected, so that's going to spike the dollar in yields. The home sales came in better than expected. Forecast minus 2.3, it came in at 0.8. So that's not what the bond market, that's not what the Fed wants to see. And that should raise the dollar, it should spike. The dollar hasn't reacted. Microsoft reacted, so that was a good little add level there. Apple's still pushing for a high. Nice little reversal on Microsoft. Will we see these markets go red? It would be a pretty big drop, you know, from where we are. That would suck the life out of the bulls. It would give life to the bears. But as of now, things are holding up and continuing to grind and float. Still looking for about $1 on Microsoft. It's trading back in the stratosphere. But the spiders are still pushing up and the Qs are still pushing up for the high of the day. You just can't stop tech at this point in time. Micron's still trading lower. Let's take a look at coin. Nat Gas did put in an hourly bottoming tail, and it's getting a little bit of follow through now. That's good to see. AMD, take a look at AMD still. That's giving us a little bit of market insight here. It's getting clear rejection off of that level. So will Nvidia play catch up? Will the semis play catch up? Because remember, if the semis start to weaken, they will drag this market down. But as long as Apple's remaining at the highs and Microsoft, those two stocks alone can carry this market and insulate it. But Microsoft up 1.73% now. Massive, massive move. Massive move. Spiders still haven't taken out the highs. The Qs are still trading at the highs. QQQ. Maybe Qs want to push for this double top. Microsoft's continuing to push. Clearly the market leader. Time. Microsoft's pushing up, so get ready to add to Microsoft if it pushes up a little bit more. 280.69, 280.69. Wow, these markets are ripping now. Ripping higher now. Apple new high a day, Microsoft new high a day. The semis are lagging though. Semis are still lagging. Look at Microsoft go. So this is purely a mega cap tech rally. Purely a mega cap tech. Because the rest of the market is lagging. Tech is pushing up. Amazon's pushing up. Apple's at the high of the day. Nvidia hasn't made a new high. Neither has AMD. So again, we're still trading on the spiders inside of an initial topping tail reversal on the 10-minute chart. We haven't closed above it. It's trying though. It is trying. Qs are still seeing some strength. Spiders are still acting resilient. Tesla is getting rejected at a key trend line. Spiders are at some really big resistance right now, and they are looking to come in. Look at that hard rejection on Microsoft. And the Qs saw initial sell side candle. Spiders are also seeing some initial sell side pressure. And if we simply show you why, look at the daily chart on the spiders here. Look at this trend line. That's a big trend line connecting multiple pivots. You can see that's where we're getting rejected off of. That's a big sell candle. That's a big engulfing on the 5-minute. And potentially another topping tail forming inside of a secondary topping tail early on the session. Microsoft's coming in a little bit harder now. Maybe a 10-minute topping tail in Microsoft, but it's still acting well. The Qs are starting to come in. QQQ. But they're still at the highs. Up 1.4. Lulu's faded. Amazon's still acting well. Cloud stocks are acting well. So one of the reasons Microsoft is also acting so well, not only the Qs are up, but look at this IGV. The cloud stocks have been on a tear. And the cloud stocks want to break out. They're very, very close to trying to break out of this little trend line over here. You can see we're bubbling right up to that resistance. It's now approaching the 10:07 time frame. Microsoft's coming in a little bit harder now. Spiders are still acting well though. Apple's still at the highs, so without Apple fading, it's going to be difficult for these markets to fade. Apple's definitely the market leader. We're seeing banks under a little bit of pressure now, the KRE. Apple's still acting resilient. Dollar's falling now. Natural gas is still getting some follow through. Russell's at the highs. Qs are actually putting in a 10-minute topping tail here. So the Qs in 40 seconds will have a 10-minute topping tail if it holds here. Same thing with the spiders. So the Qs did put in a 10-minute topping tail. But these markets are still acting very resilient right now. Dollar's fading, yields have softened. Let's take a look at MARA. That's continuing to act well. If MARA pushed up to this 846 in the next like 30 minutes, I would be interested. But as of now, I'm not. Excuse me. My apologies. Natural gas is starting to perk up a little bit more now. Take a look at natural gas. It's trying to go to the positive side. That's a good little reversal. We really need follow through to clear this area. Take a look at the S&P now. S&P is starting to see some weakness. Let's look at the bank stocks. KRE is coming down. So if this is the common theme with bank stocks, they have been gapping up and fading. And let me tell you, if the banks fade all the way down, we should see more weakness in this market. Apple's still at the highs, remaining exceptionally strong. Tesla's getting rejected. AMD's getting rejected. Nvidia. So it's a handful of stocks. The big stocks are holding this market up right now. After BABA was negative, it's gone positive. Amazon's up 2.83%. Qs are pushing right back up. Qs are acting well. The dollar's trying to hold a level and bounce here. Will we see some follow through? That's the big question. Qs are pushing back up. Let's keep Microsoft on the radar. I'm still interested in adding. We have lots of maneuverability on this particular trade. So we have a 2.6 position on Microsoft, slightly out of the money, but again, this stock really hasn't come down. Markets really haven't softened at all. Natural gas is perking up. AMD, Tesla are coming back down. So a lot of stocks are showing weakness. There's a handful of stocks like Apple and Microsoft, the two heaviest weighted stocks that are holding up. Generally, the generals are the last to fall. Banks are getting annihilated again. Really seeing the KRE come down now. AMD, take a look at AMD. We discussed that level. I'm just going to keep referring to this because it's Education 101. Clear rejection off that neckline. Look at you. I would not be surprised if AMD comes back down here. QQQ is still acting well. And it's really only Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft, the three heaviest stocks in the Qs that are holding this market up. You know, you have Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia all outperforming the Qs on a relative basis. So the Qs are only up 1.36%, but Microsoft, the heaviest weighted stock, is up 1.8. Apple is up, what is Apple up here? 1.59. Then you have Nvidia up up 1.8. So it really shows you how concentrated the Qs are and why they're not really seeing much downside, because the three heaviest stocks are outperforming the Qs. But it shows you that relative strength, the breadth in the market is deteriorating. The spiders are coming down now. Excuse me. Russell's coming down. There's a bigger drop on the Qs, but Microsoft's still not seeing anything. So the selling is continuing to be disguised by the mega cap strength. Even Amazon's outperforming 2.5%. Let's take a look at Intel. Intel's up nicely. I'm still interested in adding to Microsoft at the 69 level. Spiders are coming down a little bit harder. The KRE is falling sharp now. It's almost hitting that gap fill. Apple's starting to pull off the highs. Alright, I may add to my Microsoft here, guys. I'm going to add to Microsoft 280.55 I got filled. 280.55. Basically, my average now is 280. Sorry, 279.95. 279.95. Spiders are still acting well. Qs are still acting well. Apple's seeing a little bit of near-term weakness. There's Microsoft. That was a good little ad level. Already in the money, 20 cents from that ad level. I'm still looking for at least a buck on Microsoft. So we have a 3-6 position, 279.95. 279.95. Can we start to see this market roll over a little bit more? It's kind of in the stratosphere. You're really not at technical support. You have a little bit of support at this pivot, a little bit of support at this pivot. The Qs really only have support down here at 310. Wow, look at natural gas go. Nice. Natural gas is rocking and rolling. It flipped back to the positive side. This could be the reversal in nat gas. It is soaring and roaring now. That's a nice daily bottoming tail off of the double bottom. That is beautiful on nat gas. If we can get continuation follow through, it has a chance of breaking out of that downsloping wedge that I've been discussing. And that would be a thing of beauty. That would just be a technical, perfect breakout. Microsoft, no sell side pressure in Microsoft. Jesus, look at UNG go. Look at this, boom. Look at that squeeze. Gapping down, finally got people to exit, and now you're pushing. Pushing. Take a look at Boyle. Boyle soaring and roaring. But there's just no sell side pressure in Microsoft. It is pushing higher now. So next ad level will be at this 281.39. But single-handedly, Apple and Microsoft are lifting this market. Single-handedly, Apple. Bitcoin's trying to move up. Microsoft's at the highs. MSTR. Let's take a look at MSTR. Microsoft's pushing up as well. Spiders are acting well. Still interested in that gap fill around 846 on MARA. Wow, natural gas is soaring. Natural gas is soaring. That's a beautiful move on nat gas. That's what we want to see. That's a good move. And this thing is so beaten down that it should have more legs. I mean, 1% up on the day, 1.44%. This thing should run a lot more. Take a look at Baba here. Baba's triggering an alert here for me. What's going on with Baba? Baba's trying to push up here. Oh, Baba's making a new high. So we actually may have a short trade on Baba. The level I like on Baba is approaching that 1019 time frame. Because this red bar high, then it's backed up by this little gap fill. Let me just see here on the intraday. So I do like Baba for a short if it pierces this 101. We'll keep our eye on that. Spiders still haven't taken out the highs despite Microsoft and Apple trading much higher. When you look at the banks, I think a lot of this money flow is flowing out of the banks and back into the safe tech. Safe tech. So 101 Pierce of Baba, I do like a short trade. So now Microsoft is starting to see some sell side pressure. They've kept the stock elevated for quite a long time today. Tesla's going and falling pretty sharply here. I mean, Tesla's almost lost most of its gains. Keep IGV on the radar. There's a short trade on that. If IGV pushes to 295.42, it's quite a ways away. But you never know. Microsoft's finally seeing a little bit of sell side pressure. I'm still looking for $1. We're holding a 3-6 position. Nat Gas. Hopefully Nat Gas can hold that bottoming tail. That would be a good thing. We added to our Nat Gas yesterday, our UNG. And we added to our Boyle yesterday, which both ads are nicely in the money right now. But markets are resilient. They keep pushing higher and higher and higher. And I don't really think there's a negative sector at the moment. Let me just double check. Sectors, so we have all sectors green, with real estate up the most, then technology, then materials, then XLY. So definitely lots of strength right now in the market. Nat Gas is pushing up again here, guys. Nat Gas is pushing up again. I would not be surprised if this thing roars back, you know. I could see this thing going all the way on UNG to 732, which would be an additional 6.6% rally. I would not be surprised if that happened at all. Baba's seeing a little bit of weakness. Could we see a squeeze occurring in Nat Gas? That would be beautiful if we do. Qs are starting to roll over just a little bit. Just a little bit. That should help with our Microsoft. But again, Microsoft's acting well. Microsoft is acting well. Let's see what else we got on the radar. Qs are rolling over a little bit more now, along with the spiders. They are extremely elevated. Apple's starting to see some downside pressure. Microsoft is still the powerhouse stock today. Even as the Qs are rolling over, it really hasn't given up much of its gains. But we're just slightly out of the money, and we're approaching that 1024 time frame. AMD is rolling over harder now, so is Nvidia. So Nvidia, we want to see Nvidia take out these lows because AMD is showing us that semis are definitely seeing sell side pressure. If AMD takes out these lows, it's going to likely come for this gap, which means that Nvidia could be very close behind it, and then the SMH could also be very close to at least coming back down to this 254. And the Qs are now rolling over even harder now, so along with the spiders. Take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft, we're almost in the money. We've just been nursing this one patiently. Been in it for about 1 hour now. Dollar's starting to catch a bid. Let's see if we can get some more downside. All right, we're in the money on Microsoft. We are in the money on Microsoft. Qs are rolling hard. The dollar's popping. So maybe the markets were just delayed by that reaction. of the markets were probably delayed from that pending home sales. Just roping in new money. Roping in new money, roping in new money. Look at AMD fall. Look at Tesla fall. Holy. Tesla's hitting that gap. That would actually be a good level, but considering the markets are actually so elevated, I would not play that gap fill on Tesla. I would actually wait for... Wow, Tesla's just falling sharply here, guys. Tesla's falling sharply. Qs are catching a micro bounce, so along with the spiders, the Dixie is acting well though. Nat Gas is still trying to push up. Microsoft just doesn't want to give it up and break down here. Let's go to a little bit of a larger term time frame. Hourly candle looks good. 15-minute candle looks okay. Markets are still acting well. Yields are trying to bounce, so is the dollar. The dollar's pushing up. Nat Gas is still remaining near the highs. Qs are coming back down again. AMD's almost filled that gap. A lot of the energy stocks are holding up very, very well. You have XOM up, not giving up any of its gains. Oil's remaining strong, still at that 74. And again, this is where you could have the backdrop of natural gas. If natural gas pops and oil remains strong for a week, you'll see definite strength in energy. Dixie's popping big, so this should bring down the oil. If the Dixie gets going, it should hurt oil. Microsoft's coming in a little bit harder now. So again, we're in the money on Microsoft. You're potentially putting in a 30-minute topping tail. It'll close in 1 minute and 54 seconds on Microsoft. Take a look at this little candle. So that's a nice little topping tail forming. Qs are testing the lows. Microsoft's coming in a little bit harder now. Here we go, guys. Still looking for about $1 on Microsoft. I think that's certainly feasible. Dixie's still trying to push higher. Yields are also acting well. Nvidia making new intraday lows. Microsoft's catching a small bounce here. IGV is putting in a 10-minute bearish engulfing candle. It's got a minute left to close. We'll see if it does. Microsoft's coming back down. Here we go, guys. I would really like to close this trade by 10:30, but it's not what I like. It's what the markets want to do. Bitcoin softening. Qs are still softening. Russell's softening. Come on, Microsoft. Come on down. Get your big butt down. So spiders are still trying to hold up. Apple did finish with a topping tail. So did Microsoft on the 30-minute chart. Nice little top. So at least we have a high to trade against. Typically you do see a retrace, but with Microsoft being so extended, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a big retrace. Usually you'll see about a 50% retrace. Oil's still holding up well. Dixie's starting to push higher, so really the move in the Dixie is what's causing the spiders and the Qs to be weak. It's really as simple as that. Come on, one more quick dump in this market and we can get out of this Microsoft trade for a nice win, and that would be a 2 for 2 on the live day trading room. But as of now, we're in the money. Spiders look like they're trying to see some more selling. Oil's still up, positive on the session, almost up 1%. Alright, Microsoft bigger dump coming in. Same thing with the Qs. They're breaking a key intraday moving average now. Microsoft's testing that moving average. So we're just seeing these markets just stall here, which is not what we want to see. We want to see these markets make a move in one way or another, because if these markets stall past this time frame, the volume will start to lighten up. Spiders are getting a bounce. Qs really are trying to bounce now too. Microsoft's coming down, guys. Microsoft's coming down. Qs are trying to make another low, intraday low. They're about to take out the intraday low. It's very close. Look at Microsoft. Here we go, guys. Get ready to cover our Microsoft trade. Here we go. We've been patient with this one. It's coming down more now. It's hitting some support. So we're hitting that trend line. That's what's kept us, or this channel. That's what's kept us in track. We're in the money about 60 cents. There we go, 70 cents. Come on, a little bit more, and we'll be good to go. Here we go. It's almost hitting our target. Alright guys, I'm exiting here. 279.28. 279.28. Basically, I'm seeing the spiders catch a little bounce. It could still hit that target. There, it's even lower now. But that's a nice little win for us. Covered at 279.28. Boom, boom, boom. Basically, that is, let me just look here. So that's another 68 cents. 68 cents times 200 shares. So that's 2 winners for us. Awesome job, guys. Awesome, awesome job. So it's 2 for 2 for us. I'm going to give you a little bit of a market rundown because I'm going to call this stream to an end. Basically, if the volume softens up, kind of anticipate that the markets will just hover and float in this vicinity. However, they are extended. You're into good resistance on the daily chart across all of the indices. And but again, the volume trends could definitely overpower some resistance levels in the near term. So just keep that in mind. So we've closed a few winners here today. Other than that, I'm going to call the stream to an end. Pay attention to the semis. Pay attention to what the dollar does. And obviously big cap tech. And right now the semis are losing a lot of ground in the likes of AMD. It's still positive. But again, those semis are definitely market leaders. So on that note, congratulations on the couple wins that we did today. 2 for 2. It's always nice to have money in our pocket in the live day trading session. And we'll just see where these markets end up. On that note, thank you all for tuning in. And we'll see you on the live stream tomorrow. Take care, everybody.